sampurita pamita par mita balena vidvansiyo khila kilesa samola jalam tenevlanda araham arahoti namang vandami buddha mamalam hadaye tapentva samanta cakkavalesu atra gaccantu devata Sandhammang munirajassa sunanto sagga mokkadam Dhammasavana kalo ayam badanta Dhammasavana kalo ayam badanta Dhammasavana kalo ayam badanta Namo tansa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tansa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tansa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Okay, dear Dhamma friends, all of you are warmly welcome. Here I hope to discuss very special discourse in Buddhism, Avijja Sutta. Sutta means discourse or some kind of sermon that Buddha has explained. Avijja means ignorance or delusion. Do you know what kind of delusion that Buddha explained? What is the nature of the delusion or ignorance? All of we think that we are well educated, we are so intelligent, and we are very wise. We have no ignorance, we have no delusion, we mostly think. What is the ignorance that Buddha explained? Buddha said one day there are some planets in the universe that they have no light. You know, there are some dark planets in the universe. Scientists say that there are no beings in those planets because no sunlight. But according to Buddhism, there are some beings in those dark planets in the world. They were born in the darkness. They live in the darkness. They die in the darkness. Completely it is dark. Buddha said, that is the very vast, huge darkness in the world. But there is another darkness which is more than that darkness. What is that? That is the ignorance or delusion. Delusion is the more darkness than the planet which are dark. What kind of delusion that Buddha explained? The Buddha explained, if a person doesn't know how suffering or unsatisfactoriness arises, if a person doesn't know how get rid of suffering, that is the huge darkness in the world. You know, what is our life? When we live in the world, what happens to our life? What is our life? Have you mentioned about it before? What is our life? You may think that I have children, I have a vehicle, I have a house, I have a job, I have a good education, this is my life. I have a physical body. these are the things in my world. It is correct. But according to final introduction, our life is that when we see something, when we hear something, when we smell something, when we eat something, when we put our physical body to anywhere, that is all, and also when we think something, these are our world. There are 6 senses, such as eyes, ear, nose, physical body. Those are the senses of our life. And also there are some objects which relate to these senses. Buddha said, without these 6 internal senses and external objects, we have nothing. We have only these internal senses and we have only 6 objects in the outside as external objects. This is our life. Without these 6 senses, without these 6 external objects, we have nothing. If we say we have children, I have a vehicle, I have a job, I have friends, I have a physical body, I have my parents. If you say anything, any physical or mental thing, we experience through our senses. Without senses, we have no experience. What is the nature of this experience? Now, when you remember your house or your children, what happens to your mind? Yes, you can identify your children or your house or your vehicle. Yes. At that time, what happens to us? We are happy. Yes. How are we happy?
By remembering.
Yeah, by remembering. As soon as we remember something, do we remember the present moment? When you think of your children, you have a memory. At that time, you remember your children who is just now? No. We think about the previous experience. We read our mind. When you think your car, when you think your house, when you think your children, everything that you think, you remember your past experience or your future. When you think your job, when you go next day on Monday or next day or Wednesday, as soon as you remember your job, that when you go tomorrow, you remember something. You add something with your previous experience. You create something in your mind. Then at that moment, you live in the future. When you think everything in your life, you remember your previous experience or future. Do you know it? But we mostly don't know. When you remember your husband, as soon as you remember your husband, what happens to your mind? You are sad, you are worried, because you remember what kind of deeds that he did for you. Then at that moment, we live in the past. This is the nature of our life. When we worry, when we are angry, when we have big attachment or desire or jealousy, be sure at that moment we live not in the present moment. We live in the past or future. If we can live in the present moment, at that moment we have no defilements. Defilements means negative ideas such as desire, anger, jealousy, greed, lust, ill will. Those are the negative feelings or attitudes in our life. If we have defilements in our mind, be sure at that moment we have no mindfulness. We have no real understanding. At that moment we live in the delusion or ignorance. Sometimes we may happy, we may enjoy. When you think your daughter, you may happy, you may enjoy. But that enjoyment is not certain. It may change. Because you can't keep it lonely. Because everything is impermanent. Buddha said there is something which is enjoyed in the world. Buddha didn't reject it. There are something that we can enjoy. It is true. But that happiness is very few. We have unsatisfactoriness a lot. If we can understand this reality, we can enjoy. We can more enjoy. On the other hand, we can get rid of suffering. Therefore, all doctrines in Buddhism focus on understanding of this reality. If we can understand this reality, we can understand our mind and we try to live in the present moment. It doesn't sound that we have to forget our past or future. Don't misunderstand. You know, there are some persons in the world, like counselors, psychologists, they advise you that try to live in the present moment. That if you want to reduce your stress, try to live in the present moment. Don't remember your past or future. Forget everything. Try to live in the present moment. Is this the Buddha's advice? No, Buddha never advised that forget your past or future. Past or future is not the fault. What's the fault? Fault is when we think something in past or future, if our mind goes to the past or future, if our mind lives in the past or future, that is the cause of suffering. That is the fault. According to Buddhism, when we develop our mind, when we practice mindfulness, little by little our memory grows up. It develops. If you forget something, be sure that it is a big mistake in your life. When you forget something, it means our mind is very complex. Our mind is not calm and quiet. That is why we forget something. Memory is one of the advantages when you practice mindfulness. You know, there are some persons who practice mindfulness in the maximum level. They can remember everything which happens in this life. Not only this life. They can remember what happened when they were in their mother's womb. Not only in the womb, but they can remember a lot of things in his previous lives. They can read their previous stories. They can read their mind. Memory is not the fault. What is the fault? The fault is when you remember something in your past experience, if your mind goes to the past and if your mind lives in the past experience, that is the fault. That is the cause of suffering. For example, when you remember somebody who blamed you, as soon as you remember that person, what happens to your mind? Yes, you are very honest. You may get angry. What is the reason? As soon as we remember that incident, our mind goes to the past and we live in that situation. That is why we get angry. But without angry, we can remember it. How do we do it? As soon as we remember that incident, if we have mindfulness that now I read my mind, not that the real situation, we can remember it. But anger doesn't arise. For that, we should have a good mindfulness. That is very important. This is the thing that Buddha always advises us to practice in the name of real happiness, in the name of getting rid of suffering or unsatisfactoriness. And not only those previous experiences, just now, if you look at me, if you see me, if you listen in my voice, when you understand what I explain, then my sound has ceased. When you remember what I explain, then you understand it in your mind. The sound ceased. When you understand, the sound goes to your mind and you remember as your mental object. For example, when we see some stars in the sky, those are very far. When light comes to your eyes, sometimes some stars are vanished because they are very far. They are very far. When light comes to your mind, comes to your eyes, those stars may vanish or cease. Not only those far stars, but this sound also same. When we see something, when we hear something, when we smell something, when we eat something, when we have physical experience, all of these 5 senses, when we understand this experience, be sure this experience has ceased. And also when you understand it by your mind. If we can understand these things, this is the reality, and gradually our big attachment or desire goes away. And also we have nothing to catch or we have nothing to get angry. If we enjoy or worry something, at that moment we enjoy or worry in our mind. We can't enjoy by our eyes or ears or nose or tongue or body. When we get that experience, that first experience has ceased. For example, when you listen in this sound, it suddenly arises and says, when you understand this sound is like this, it arises these fingers, when you understand the reality of the sound, that first sound has ceased. This is our experience. If we enjoy or worry, at that moment we live in the mind. But because of ignorance, we don't know it. For example, I can give you some example. When you eat something with a plate, in a plate, there are delicious food. When you eat something, you are very happy because it is very delicious. You taste it. When you eat something looking at your plate, when something is delicious, we mostly think, now I eat the thing that I enjoy just now is in the plate. It is correct? We mostly think just now if you eat something which is very delicious food, you may mostly think that food is here. But just now if you eat something or enjoy something, it is not in the plate, it is in the mouth. Just now if you taste something, actually that is in your mouth. But we are tasting looking at the plate. It is true? Yes, our whole experience also like that. When we have some kind of experience that we enjoy or worry, that first experience has ceased. Now we read our mind, and just now we enjoy your worry in our mind, by our mind, with our mind. If you can understand this reality, this is the world reality. And also, if you can understand in this way, we are able to overcome delusion. Delusion is the biggest, very huge defilement in the world. You know, according to Buddhism, there are three major defilements or ill will. They are desire or big attachment, or greed, and anger or ill will, and ignorance. There are three main roots of evils. What they are? Lobha. Lobha means desire. And second one is anger or dvesha. The third one is moha or delusion. These are the main defilements or evil or misunderstanding in our life, which cause to suffer, which cause to suffering. Among these three things, ignorance is the very biggest one, very huge one, that which is difficult to overcome. And Buddha's all teachings focus on getting rid of ignorance. Little by little, if we can understand this reality, we try to live in the present moment. Our success, our progress, our happiness completely depends on how much we are able to live in the present moment. Although you have a huge house, although you are well educated, although you are sleeping in a comfortable bed, if you think something which happened in the past as a negative or positive thing, as soon as you remember that thing, you may get angry or you have big attachment, then you have not the interest in of the comfortable facilities, because you live in the past or future. We can remember it any time. We can remember, we can adjust something which is in the future. We can do it. But the fault is that when we think something as our past or future, if our mind goes to past or future without consciousness, without attention, without mindfulness, then we suffer or get angry. And yes, that is why Buddha explained the important thing is the wisdom. Wisdom means the opposite of ignorance. If we can understand the wisdom, and if you can practice wisdom, then we can overcome the extremes, that past and future. It doesn't sound that we don't do anything for the future. We do everything better than we do now after this experience. Now we do something only for this world. After this experience, we do everything, not only this world, but also hereafter too. You know, there was some enlightened person in Buddha's period. After Buddha passed away, 500 enlightened persons are gathered. They discussed these discourses and they did a great duty how this message can go to future among 5,000 years. For the 5,000 years. They arranged. They do everything for the longevity of the dispensation of the Buddha. How nice their intelligence. They have understood completely the impermanence of this reality. But although they have understood this reality, they were not lazy. They do everything for the future. Now we do something for the 100 years or 300 years. But they did something more than 5,000, 6,000 years. You know, there are some pagodas and very big statues and big temples in Sri Lanka. All of them are managed by the Arahantas. They planned. They gave some proposals for the lay people. when they built those buildings. They do everything considering the future. Here, wisdom is the most important quality that we have to practice. Once Buddha explained, if an intelligent person, we have to practice only one. This is wisdom. If we can practice this wisdom or intelligence, little by little, our all skills, our all spiritual skills grow up. When Buddha met some very intelligent persons, Buddha explained the highest thing in short, because they can understand with descriptions, because they were very intelligent. But little by little, sometimes Buddha explained something with tact. Sometimes Buddha explained, you have to practice only two, which they are, and he explained mindfulness and wisdom. Sometimes he explained only two. Sometimes Buddha explained, you have to practice only three, which they are discipline or morality or concentration or tranquility and wisdom. However, everywhere there is wisdom. But here there is more description in this discourse, which is Avijja. In the Avijja discourse, Buddha explains several steps. How do we overcome suffering or unsatisfactoriness? How do we overcome ignorance? There are some kind of steps. Little by little we can pass those steps. That is very important. From the beginning to end, we may have clear knowledge what we have to practice. Little by little, our skills should increase gradually. Finally, what is the final goal of Buddhism? The liberation, getting rid of all kind of sufferings. How do we know that we have overcome some kind of liberation? How do we know that we are on the path of liberation? Little by little, our suffering should decrease or reduce. The important thing is, little by little, our anger, our desire, our delusion should decrease little by little. That is the sign that we are on the path of liberation. Although we are very rich, although we are well educated, although we have a lot of properties, it doesn't sound that we are happy. Our happiness completely depends on how far we have reduced our defilements, our negative feelings, attitudes. Finally, when we are very wise with wisdom, then that is the real sign that we have overcome suffering. What is the final result that we have after we are liberated? After we become liberation, what is the nature of our life? Do we go to the jungle? We may live in the house, same house with our children, but our attitude has changed. What is the final destination, final experience, final attitude that we have after liberation, or when we are reaching the liberation?
Is it detachment? Detachment?
Yeah, detachment. How do we become the detachment? With the intelligence, with the wisdom, as soon as we look at something, as soon as we taste something, as soon as we hear something, as soon as we smell something, if we have a knowledge that this experience arises this moment, it doesn't come to the present from the past, it doesn't go to the future from the present, it arises and ceases in this moment, if we have this knowledge, when we experience through our six senses, if we have complete understanding and mindfulness, that is the real experience that we have when we are reaching liberation. For example, when this sound was here before you listening it? Before you listening to this sound, it was here? No. After you listening it, did it remain? No. This sound was not here before you listening it. After you listening it, it was not remain. It didn't remain. This is the same experience that we have all experienced when we get through our senses. When you see something, when you smell something, when you hear something, when you eat something, when you some feelings throughout your body or something, all experience also same. That experience arises once at the moment. Immediately it arises and ceases. But because of ignorance, it remains in our mind. As soon as we remember it, we play it again. We live in this situation. That is why suffering or unsatisfactoriness arises. If you have an ability to understand, as soon as you remember something, now I don't go to the situation, now I read my mind, we can think anything, we can remember anything without desire, without attachment, without anger, because of no ignorance. This is the final destination that we have to reach. For that, we have to some kind of steps. Those steps are discussed in this discourse. First of all, we may have a good association, noble association. What kind of association that we have? You know, Buddha has explained, first of all, we should have a good friend or noble friend who explains the Buddha's real message. Sometimes it may be a living person. Sometimes it may be a book. Sometimes it may be a website. Sometimes it may be a video on YouTube. Now we are so lucky. We can reach anybody in the world through internet, through Google, because everything is in the internet. We are so lucky. Yeah. Be happy. But we should be intelligent to understand what is the correct message that Buddha explained. That is very important. Buddha explained the thing that nobody could understand. That is the important thing. You know, according to Buddhism, there are both truths. One of them is conventional truth. Everything in the world depends on conventional truth. According to conventional truth, before we were born in the world, there was a world. After we die, the world remains. This is the nature of the conventional truth. Everything, every rules and regulations depend on this reality. We can overcome it. We should associate with it. But we should understand, if you want to get rid of suffering and if you want to reach the real liberation, we have to understand the certain level of the truth. It is the ultimate truth. You know, every scientist, every philosopher, every doctrines, every teachings in the world depend on conventional truth. There are a lot of Buddhist teachings also which depend on conventional truth too. But the interesting thing is, the important thing that Buddha explained is the ultimate truth. What is the ultimate truth that Buddha explained? The world arrived when we were born. When we die, the world doesn't remain. That is the spiritual world. That world is not the world when we were born. That world that Buddha meant the present world. Every moment we create the world. When you think your daughter, then you have a daughter. When you think your daughter, you have no vehicle on the way, according to ultimate truth. When you think your mom, you are a daughter, then you have no children at that moment. When you think your job, you are a servant, you are employer. When you think your vehicle, you are owner of a vehicle. When you think your house, then you have a house. When you have a house, you have nothing, other things. Every moment, we have only one experience. This is the reality, whether we like or not, whether we believe or not. You may think that I have a house, I have a daughter, or I have children, I have a vehicle, I have a good job. Everything I have, actually it is true according to conventional truth. But when we go to the ultimate truth, we have only one experience through one sense at once. We have only the present. If we can succeed this present moment, we can succeed our entire life. When you look at a river, what you see? Do you see a river? Yes, you see the water, and there is only one drop. Although the river is very long, 100 miles, 500 miles, but there is only a drop of water. But at that moment, the river creates itself. Because of our ignorance, we think that there is a river, but there are only drops of water. When you see a big sand, you know, Valley-Goda? Valley-Goda ko kya? Yeah, heap of sand. When we see heap of sand, actually there are only sands. But we can see a big heap of sand, but there are only the very small things. When we think, I have lived 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, but we have only second. If we can succeed this second, seeing this reality, then we can overcome suffering. If we have this moment with this understanding, with mindfulness, be sure at that moment we have overcome suffering. Nobody can bring suffering at that moment to us, because at that moment we live in the mind. We live by mind. At that moment we have no attachment with the physical things. If we lose this understanding, then we have attachment with the physical things. If we have attachment with physical things, what happens to those physical things? They are going to destroy, they are going to old age, they are subject to die, they are subject to old age, all things we have. If you catch your children as certain, then we have all other things. Sicknesses, old age, death, everything you have. If you have this understanding, we can associate our children or our relatives, our friends, everybody. But we have overcome the physical things. We help them. We take care of them. We do our responsibility with this understanding. When they are going to sicknesses, when they are going to old age, when they are going to die, we do our duties for them, but we don't suffer. Because as soon as we have this experience, we know very well, now I have only the present moment, and also when you see the impermanent, then you have nothing to catch or get angry. On this path, the noble friend who explained this message is very important. You know, if we are going to associate a good friend, we also should have good qualities. That is why you are here. All good qualities depends on gratitude. Who they explain, we have a lot of good qualities, but all of good qualities, human values, depends on gratitude. If we have gratitude, we have all qualities. And with gratitude, you have a lot of qualities. That is why you have an ability to understand some kind of persons who explain this message. Sometimes if you go to search some programs in Google or YouTube or anywhere, then that is the thing that you have good qualities. When we are going to associate good persons who explain the Buddha's message, we also should have some kind of human values. Then we can reach them. Then we can understand them. We also should be intelligent. You know, if we are not intelligent, if we are not wise, we are unable to understand the persons who explain the Buddha's message. You know, in this time, association means not only living nearby. Sometimes we think that if we associate a person, he should be near. What is the association? Association, not the physical thing. Association that we associate their qualities, their attitudes, their skills. Sometimes, if a person has written a very good book, when we read that book, that person who wrote the book might die. But if he can read that book and if he can practice those qualities, we can associate that person, even though that person has passed away. Therefore, association means not only physical association, association with their qualities, with their human values. That is the real association. And the first step on the path of liberation, we should have noble friends who explain this message. That is also very important. When we associate with them, we also should have some good qualities, especially gratitude and generosity. If you are not generous, you are not here. You are generous. At least you have dedicated your valuable hours. That is why you here. That is also some kind of generosity. If you are not ready to offer these valuable things in your life, you can't reach the real friends. Therefore, at the very beginning, Buddha explained all good qualities we receive because of noble association. That is the first step. The second one, when we associate them, we should be intelligent to ask them what kind of things that you practice, what is your attitude, what is your vision in the world. You know, in the Buddha's period, there were some Arahantas, when they were begging foods on the way, when some persons saw them, they asked, your senses are very pleasant. What kind of doctrines that you practice? Who is your teacher? They asked. Then the very special thing, when you meet a person, that don't try to tell your qualifications. We mostly are ready to tell our qualities, our qualifications. It is not bad, but the special thing, the very important thing, you should be intelligent to understand. Ask him what kind of things that you know, that you believe, that you practice. Try to ask them. Sometimes they may know more things than we know. That is very important. the certain thing, we should have not only good association, but we should be wise to ask them what kind of things that you practice, what is your vision, what is your understanding, what is your purpose in your life, what is your destination, what is your final goal. Please ask them. That is very important. That is, through the noble person, especially in this path, we have to ask them what is the Buddha taught. What Buddha taught. Buddha's message. We ask from them what Buddha said. Then, what Buddha said, Buddha explained only both ways. The path of heaven and the path of liberation. Buddha's all doctrines focus on those both paths. What they are? The path of heaven, the path of liberation. How do we become human or divine lives? And how do we become the final destination, enlightenment, liberation? Those both paths that Buddha has explained in his entire life. At the very beginning, when Buddha met a person, he explained the primary things. Dhanakata, the stories of generosity. Silakata, the stories of virtue. Sanghakata, the stories of God life. And little by little, he goes to deep level. But sometimes when Buddha had met very intelligent person, as soon as he met those persons, he explained only their wisdom, because they can understand the highest level. Sometimes you also may intelligent to understand this path. And if you understand the impermanence that I explained, the dependent origination, cause and effect in Buddhism, and if you can keep it your attention, full attention, and if you can live with this impermanence, then you are ready to overcome suffering. You are ready to reach the liberation. And however, in this sutta, in this discourse, Buddha has explained little by little the steps that we have to pass. The first one is association noble friends. Second one, listening to Buddha's message or read. Sometimes we can watch it through a video. And when you listening to Buddha's message, you also should be intelligent what you should listening. By the name of Buddha's message, there are many people who explain many things in the world. Therefore, we should be intelligent to understand what is the correct doctrine or message Buddha has explained. Especially, Buddha's doctrines focus on getting rid of suffering or focus on wisdom, living in the present moment without going here and there, the extremes, past and future. It doesn't sound that you forget your past or future. We have a good memory. But as soon as we remember something, we know very well, now I read my mind. Our mind doesn't go to past or future. If our mind goes to past or future, and if our mind lives in that experience, then we have to suffer. Then we have to worry. Because we have defilement. Anytime be sure, if you worry, it means you are not living in the present. You are living with some kind of previous experience. That is why you suffer. If we have defilements or negative ideas in our mind, it means we have lost living in the present moment. If we have lost living in the present moment, it means we have lost the beauty of the present moment. The beauty is the present moment. This is like, heaven. If somebody who is like Ethiopia or very poor country person look at here, He was so surprised. He may think that this is like heaven. But although we are here, if we think some our negative experience in our past, we have not the experience of this beauty. Then actually Buddhism explains us how do we naturally, how do we face to the reality. Ignorance is not the reality. Now Buddha explains how do we face to the reality in the present moment. Now we have no reality, we have no truth, we live in the ignorance. Little by little, when we understand Buddha's message, we try to go away from the ignorance or delusion. We try to face the reality, the world truth. This is the world truth. Buddha's message is not, it doesn't belong to even Buddha. Buddha said, whether Buddha appeared or not in the world, this reality is forever. We respect to the Buddha because he himself realized and he explained himself to the world. That is why we say it is Buddhism or Buddha's message. But be sure this message even doesn't belong to Buddha. This is the world reality. Buddha explained in Nagara Sutta, the Discourse of Nagara, a Buddha appears or not in the world, this reality is forever. This is not a creation of a Buddha. This is a discovery. Buddhism has no creation. Buddhism is a discovery. You know the difference between creation and discovery? Discovery cannot be created. We can only discover it. Such as water, oil, gems, jewelries. Those are the discoveries, not the creation. But this building is a creation. Buddhism also a discovery. And the second one is the Buddha's message. It is well expounded and immediately results, visible results, immediately effective. And anybody can say, come and see. Buddhism always invites you, come and see, not come and believe. That is the difference in Buddhism. Buddhism never forces you believe this. Buddhism invites you, come and see through your life. When we practice it through our life, the confidence gradually grows up. Because it is our own experience. When we have this experience by practicing this message, then this experience cannot be destroyed by others. It cannot be changed by anybody. Our understanding cannot be changed by even Buddha. That is the interesting thing, because it is our own experience. First of all, we should have some kind of confidence, but after we experience, it is our own experience. Next one is number 3 is Saddha, or confidence in Buddha's enlightenment. When we listen to this message, when we practice it through our life, we have some kind of confidence or Saddha. That is also very important. It is not like the blind faith. It's the confidence of Buddha's enlightenment. When we see the results by practicing this message, we are so happy. We have respect to the Buddha, and we have confidence that it is true. That is also very important. There are 3 things, 3 triple gems: Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. This is the nature of the Saddha. There is another thing, another qualities of a faithful person. Dassana kamo silavatang. If we have confidence, we like to see the virtuous persons. We are so happy associating with good friends who bear this message, who practice this message. And also we have confidence about the Buddha's message. And also we have confidence about the Buddha's enlightenment. Saddha means confidence. When we associate a noble friend, we try to listen to this message. When we listen to this message, when we practice it through our life, we have a confidence. Little by little, that confidence grows up to the highest level. The fourth one is wise investigation. That is a very important thing, fourth one. You know, in Buddha's language, in Pali, it says Yoniso Manasikara. One day Buddha said, I don't see any other things like this which is very important. This is the most important thing on the path of liberation. Wise reflection or wise investigation. What is the wise reflection or wise investigation? The way how we live, which defilements don't come to our mind. The way that defilements or negative attitudes, ideas come to our mind. Anyway, for example, when a person blamed you, you can think it in various ways, how defilements, how anger doesn't come to your mind. We can think about him in various ways. There are many advice in Buddhism. Sometimes you can think, this is not only a physical body, he has a mind. This is a person with the process of mind and body. Not only physical body, but we mostly angry with the physical body. After he dies, the physical body remains. Now also, we try to anger with physical body. But as soon as we meet a person, if we have an ability to understand this physical body only, not the person, he acts like this because of his mind. Mind plays a very big role behind us. If we have no mind, we can't even stand. As soon as we die, what happens to our body? It falls down. Even we can't sit like this one. This is the nature of our life. When we associate a person, if we have an ability to understand this person is not with only a physical body, he has a mind. That is why there is a person here. If we have this understanding, we don't get angry with the physical body. On the other hand, we don't have big attachment with the physical body. We know very well when mind goes away, this is not a person, this is a dead body. We should be intelligent. And on the other hand, on the other way, that when a person blames you, if you have an ability to understand this person, although now he is one of my enemies, he was one of my close relatives in previous lives, then we can get rid of anger. There are many ways. On the other hand, when somebody blames you, if you have an ability to understand, this sound is very permanent. It is very instant. And suddenly it ceases. This is one of the ways how we think not to arise defilements. Then, wise reflection means the way how we live, that nobody can disturb our peace of mind. If somebody can disturb your peace of mind, be sure that you have no wise reflection, you have no mindfulness. Now we are dependent on outside. Anybody can change you. Anybody can disturb your peace of mind. Although we are very educated, although we are very rich, although we have a lot of money, we are dependent on outside. Because our happiness or suffering depends on outside. Buddhism advises us to how we get the real dependence, freedom, liberation. Until we get this understanding, we are dependent on outside. If somebody depends on outside, how do we say that person? He is a beggar. Like a beggar. Beggar always depends on outside. Because he have no freedom that he can spend his own needs. Then Buddha advises us kindly, how do we become the real freedom? Real freedom arises through our mind, through our attitude, through our vision. Therefore, on this path, wise reflection is very important. Wise reflection means the way how we think that outside persons or things can disturb our peace of mind. The way that we should think. There are many teachings in Buddhism. How do we overcome? For example, when we have anger, if we can practice loving kindness again and again, that is also one of the techniques that we can overcome anger. The techniques that we can use to overcome negative ideas in our mind is wise reflection. Okay, fifth one, sati sampajanya. Mindfulness. Actually, mindfulness comes here in several places, because it is related to everything. You know, every steps in Buddhism with mindfulness and wisdom. Again and again we meet them. Here in this fifth step we can say sati sampajanya. Sati means mindfulness and clear comprehension. It is also very important. Mindfulness and comprehension, understanding. We live every moment with mindfulness and comprehension. What kind of comprehension that we should have? The comprehension about the impermanence. Impermanence means not only changing. Not only changing. Impermanence means the experience that we have through our senses arises in this moment with the conditions. When these conditions are together, you can hear a sound. When conditions separate, the sound ceases. When you look at something, when your eyes here, when picture is here, when your consciousness here, all of them are together, you can see a picture. Then that incident immediate, and it arises and ceases with the conditions. It doesn't come to present from the past. Like sound. Okay, this is the comprehension. Day by day we have to develop this mindfulness and comprehension in the name of getting rid of unsatisfactoriness. And sixth one, discipline in senses. On this path, little by little, we try to control our senses. We have 6 senses, like ears, eyes, nose, those are the senses. We keep the watchers near the senses. You know, like there are some big houses and some companies, there are some watchers or security guard. When you enter through the gate, the watcher or security check you because of their protection. We also should have watchers or security near our senses. And don't give a chance to come to defilement through your senses. That is why we should practice discipline in senses. Buddhism doesn't say that you don't see, you don't hear. Buddhism never says. We can see anything, we can hear anything. But if we have real awareness, or mindfulness, nobody can disturb our peace of mind. Then we should be intelligent when external objects come to your mind through your senses. Because if we get those things as permanent, then that is the cause of suffering. After experience, if you live with that experience, then you enjoy your suffer. Then, if we can understand after experience, the experience ceased, then we have no big attachment or ill will. But it doesn't sound that you do duties. We do it. As children, as parents, we have a lot of responsibilities and duties to do. We do it very well than we do now after this experience. Don't worry. We try to get the results from our life after this experience. We give a valuable to our life. If we don't have this understanding, actually our life is not valuable. Now the value of our life depends on our properties, our education. After this experience, our value has grown up because that understanding is very valuable. That is why, they are enlightened person. After they died, after they passed away, even their robes were respected. Even their bowl that they used were respected. Buddha's some parts of his bowl that he used for making food. Still, some people respect to those bowls too. Wherever the Lord Buddha and enlightened person lived, just now also some people go and respect to the places because they were very valuable persons. That is why we also should give a real valuable to our life. We should give the real value to our life through practicing this message. And discipline in senses, that is very important. Try to keep the watches near your senses. Seventh one, 3 discipline in mental, verbal and behavior. If we have this understanding, we try to control our speech, our behavior, our mind. We do everything physically, mentally or verbally. With the understanding of right understanding. Sammaditthi, after right understanding. Samma sankappa, right attitude. And Samma vaca, right speech. As much as we have this understanding, we have a good discipline in our speech before we are going to discipline our body. Speech is very important than our behavior. It's very, we should have a good discipline in our speech. Actually, it happens automatically. As much as we have this understanding, actually, our speech has a very good discipline. We mostly talk, discuss, criticize others living in the past experience. When we criticize somebody who has a big behavior, misbehavior, we live in the past experience. We play it as a role. We talk a lot of things creating the past experience. As much as we have this understanding, we don't go to the criticize people. We don't criticize the people because it is a very disturbance for our mind. We don't like to get suffer. After we have this experience, always we consider our inner peace. The very valuable thing that we have our mind. Try to keep it as pleasant, calm and quiet, like a very good smell rose flower. Don't give a chance to anybody to disturb your peace of mind. Because the mind is the cause. Mind is the main reason whether we are happy or not. Therefore, after when we go on this path, we may have a good discipline in our speech, our behavior, and our mind. When we do anything, physically, verbally, or mentally, we do it with mindfulness. We do everything with mindfulness. You know very well, when we lose our mindfulness, it means defilements, negative ideas come to my mind. It means we have no peace in mind. Therefore, be sensitive with your activities, verbal, mental, or physical. And after this discipline, we go to the next level, which is the fourfold mindfulness, sati patthana. Gradually, we are going to the deep level. Now we have real mindfulness. We do everything. When we do something with physically, we have clear comprehension about what I do now. And also when feelings come to your mind through your senses, we know very well which are negative or positive, good or bad. About everything we have comprehension. Mindfulness can be divided into four. The contemplation of physical body, the contemplation of feelings, the contemplation of mind, and the contemplation of mental formation, mental objects. It means, we do everything with mindfulness from waking up in the morning to go to the bed. We have no interval with defilements. Because, we do everything with consciousness. Every moment we have clear understanding what happens to my mind and body. Although there are four things, we have to do only two: the concentration of our body and mind. Mindfulness about our mind and body. We do everything physically and mentally mindfully. And the ninth one, again we are going to the deep level. And when we are on this path, the seven enlightenment factors grow up. Those are very important. Now, little by little, we are reaching the liberation. As much as we practice this step, then we are reaching the liberation. Enlightenment is the final destination. It may be for a long time, but as much as we practice this path according to our effort and courage and dedication, we can reach some kind of steps in the liberation. That is very important. Don't worry up to become the final destination, which is enlightenment. As much as you have discipline, you have mindfulness, you can overcome suffering in your life. It means our mind is very pure and calm. Little by little we can go forward with practicing these qualities. And in 7 enlightenment factors, it is a very big Buddha's advice and message. We have to discuss a lot in that steps. There are 7: mindfulness and keen investigation, effort, happiness, calmness, concentration, and equanimity. It means these are like our organs, like our organs in our body. Now we are related to these doctrines. Now we can't go away from these steps. At the very beginning we may think that the Dhamma is outside, I am here. Dhamma is in the temple, now I am at home. Dhamma is when on the poor day or full moon day, other days we are go away from the Dhamma. But now, little by little, when we practice this message, we live with Dhamma. When we drive, we practice loving kindness. When somebody blames you, we practice impermanence. We know very well the impermanence when somebody has a misbehavior. And every moment when we live with mindfulness, it means we are living with Dhamma. Be sure. We are not away from the Dhamma if we have mindfulness. Mindfulness is the best friend in our mind. If we lose our mindfulness, it means be sure we have go away. We are go away from our best friend. It means we have defilements or suffering. Whenever we have mindfulness, it means we have no defilements, no anger, no desire, no delusion. Whenever you have mindfulness, it means you are free from suffering. On the other hand, be sure, if somebody is angry, if somebody has big attachment, now you can understand others too. You can forgive them. Don't get angry with them when somebody is angry. When somebody has big attachment, because now you have this understanding, you don't get angry. You are so kind. You are ready to forgive them. They are angry because of no understanding. They have big attachment and they are suffering because of no understanding about the ignorance. Therefore, as a kind person, as an understandable person, you don't get angry. Always you are ready to forgive. But it doesn't sound, you don't forget it. We never forget. Forgetting is a big mistake. But we practice forgiveness. Forgiveness is a quality. But forgetting is not a quality. It is a big mistake. We have a good memory, good remembering. But always we are ready to forgive others because there is no certain person. This is the process of mind and body. How do we get angry? Then the final destination on this path, the final purpose, the final results. We have the Avijja Vimukti. It means gaining the full knowledge and liberation. It means in this level, we know very well, every moment the world arises. Our world. We are refreshed. We are so fresh. Now we are not new. We are old persons. Because we live with the past experience. Although we are on 1st of January, we are not new. Morning of 1st of January, we are so new. We bless others. Happy New Year. But we live with the previous experience. We are old. But after this experience, we are so new. Not only in our young age, but very old age, even on the old age, in the old age, we are so fresh, refreshed. Then we are new. Every moment is new for us. It means we live in the present moment. Little by little, try to increase your qualities. Especially, we have to practice only two. Although there are many steps or many doctrines in Buddhism, we have to practice only two. Only two. One day, Buddha said, as an intelligent person, we have to practice only two: mindfulness and wisdom. Mindfulness is the awareness in this moment. With that awareness, we reflect on impermanence, ceasing and arising. Both of them are very important. On one side, we should have awareness or mindfulness, what happens to my mind and body. On the other hand, we reflect on it as impermanent. Then we do everything with this knowledge, not only we are awakened, but when we are going to bed, when we are sleeping, there also we live with this understanding. Then our entire life is with this understanding. It means gradually we are reaching the final destination, the liberation, the enlightenment. Have you any question you can ask about this path? The teachings that we explained, the Buddha's. On the other hand, from the beginning to end, we have to practice 4 things again and again. All of these steps can be included into 4. Those are associating noble friends, listening to or read his message, and wise reflection, and practice. Practice means mindfulness and wisdom. And by this understanding, we do everything with this understanding. If you study, if you work, if you take care of your children or your elders, everything we do with this understanding. Now, when we do something, when we drive, we think everything. When we cook, we think everything which happens to us. Now we do those things. After this experience, after this understanding, when you drive, when you work, when you cook something, we do everything remembering, reflecting this understanding. That is very important. That time, the practice in Buddhism means like, breathing. We have to dedicate our life only for the listening to this message. Practicing is like breathing. We do everything breathing. We should have only mindfulness. If we have mindfulness, we can practice this message through our day-to-day life, through our day-to-day activities. Okay, thank you for your comment. Little by little, we discuss Buddha's doctrine again and again. As much as we have understanding, then it helps us to go forward on this path. Our life is very valuable. We try to get the results from our life. That is very important. Although we have a lot of money or properties or children, those are not the reasons whether you are happy or not. Our happiness depends on our attitude, our mind, our vision. Then if we can change our vision into correct way, even though we face some problems in our day-to-day life, we can overcome those negative feelings in our life. Then the correct vision is the very important thing. If we can change our attitude into correct way, we can face any day-to-day experience without fear, without lamentation, without suffering, without anger. It means we are living with happiness. For that I wish you all of you. Now we are going to transfer these merits to our departed relatives. After any kind of meritorious deeds, we transfer the merits to our departed relatives. That is our tradition. When we practice generosity, virtue, meditation, listening Dhamma, those are the merits, wholesome deeds that we practice. We believe that when we do this kind of merit, we accumulated merit to our mind. Then those spiritual strength we transfer to our departed relatives too. Okay? We believe that they can gain new life and they can succeed their life by receiving these merits. Okay, now the time to it, and remember your beloved departed relatives who need some merits from us. By the practicing these kind of merits, we accumulated a lot of spiritual strength. By the power of all these merits, may our departed relatives receive these merits and may they attain final bliss of liberation. With that intention, let's transfer these merits by reciting the Pali stanza. Idamme ñātīnam hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātīnam hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātīnam hotu sukhita hontu ñātiyo. By the power of all these merits, may guardian deities and angels also receive these merits. May they attain final bliss of liberation. May they keep their eye on you too. With that intention, let's transfer these merits to guardian deities and angels too. Ettavata ca amhehi sambhatam punya sampadam Sabbe deva anumodanto sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata ca amhehi sambhatam punya sampadam Sabbe deva anumodanto sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata ca amhehi sambhadam punya sampadam Sabbe devanumodanto sabba sampatti siddhya. By the power of all these merits, may you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you. May no problems come to you. May all of you attain final bliss of liberation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dukkham panta ca niddukkha, bhayam panta ca nibhaya, sokam panta ca nissoka, hantu sabbe pipanino. Okay, may the Triple Gem bless you.